Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to talk about the books that I have read in the first half of March. So from March 1st to March 16th, the day that I'm filming this, I just finished a book that I'm going to add in here. So the way I decided to do this month's wrap-ups is I filmed a clip after I finished each book or combined a couple books into a clip. So I'm going to insert those clips here, and then I will come back and talk about book number 4. So I just finished Around the World in 80 Days. I have mixed thoughts. I haven't even given it a rating yet because I don't know. Hopefully as I talk this through, a rating will come to me. Because it started interesting. I was kind of like, okay, I'm curious to see where this is going to go. Then we get to the middle, and I was like, what? Like, I was so confused with what was happening and what was going on that it was like, oh, I am so bored right now. I'm ready to put this down. But it's not a very long book. Like, it's only 120 some pages. This version, this version is 191. On my Kindle, it said it was 120 something, I think. But this is also a bit smaller than a normal book. But I kept going, and the ending, I love the ending. And shocker to me, there was a romance in it. And I mean, it's very, very minor, but hey, there's romance between two characters. Yes. So I do want to say, though, I liked the character of Phineas Fogg, I think. I'm not sure how to say the names in this one. But I really liked him. However, the secondary character, Passepartout? I don't know. The new valet, so kind of the guy that will go with him everywhere. He's a Frenchman. And there's a couple incidences in this book where they get separated. And I was very, well, what happened to him? Is he going to be okay? What's going on? Like, I really cared about him. So, yeah, I'm happy to say I read it, I finished it, and I loved the ending. But because I got really kind of bogged down in the middle, not really sure what was happening, and bored, and kind of really just, okay, I'm done. I just want to put this aside. So because it didn't hold me the whole way through, that's why I'm leaning towards a 3, I think. Because 4 for me is something I would reread. I don't think I would reread this, but a 2 is something I really did not like. And I liked the way it started. I liked the way they ended. And it was very interesting in certain parts of it. So that's why it's not a 2 for me, and it's not a 4 for me. So I think I'm at a 3. I'm pretty sure I'm at a 3. My 3 is, it was okay. I enjoyed parts of it. There were parts I didn't like, and that I, don't really plan on rereading it. So I think that's where I'll be. So yes, I am glad to say I have read this book. That is the first book finished on my Around the World in 80 Days readathon that I'm participating in, and I gave it 3 stars. I think. I'm pretty sure. So yes, so book number 1. So I have finished 2 books since the last update. I finished Aftermath by Terri Blackstock, and I finished A Dance in Donegal by Jennifer Deibel. So I'm going to talk about Aftermath first because it was the book I finished first. So this is a suspense. It won the 2022 Christie Award for Mystery Suspense Thriller. There is a little bit of romance, but really not much at all. So Taylor is at a concert with her friends, and a bombing happens at the concert, and she escapes and gets out, but cannot find her friends. Meanwhile, Dustin gets pulled over by the cops with an anonymous tip that he has explosives in his trunk. And him not knowing what's going on, he's like, go ahead, search. I don't have anything to hide. And apparently, they shouldn't have searched his car because apparently he had explosives that he didn't know anything about. So then it's kind of begins weaving. Who is setting up Dylan? We know that he is not guilty, but who is setting him up? And how does it tie in to the bombing that happened? And what happened to Taylor's friends? And how does Taylor kind of deal with everything that's going on? So Dylan calls his childhood friend, who he grew up next door to. They haven't spoken in 15 years. Dylan is 6 years older than, what is her name? Jamie. And so he thought he was kind of protecting her by kind of staying out of her life. But now he's in a real pickle, and Jamie is a criminal defense lawyer. So he calls her when he gets hauled in by the cops. They reconnect, and she knows that her friend is not guilty. And as she begins investigating, it becomes more and more obvious. But who is setting him up, and why are they setting him up? Meanwhile, we meet Travis, who is Dustin's business partner, and Travis is dealing with a family emergency. His wife is in the hospital dying of cancer, and his mother-in-law is there with them and trying to look after their twin boys who are 2 years old. So, I mean, there's a lot emotional going on with that storyline. And then Dustin is being framed as a terrorist and blowing up buildings. And then Taylor is dealing with the aftermath of being in this building when it happened and what happened to her friends and the guilt of getting out. How did she get out when the others didn't? So there's a lot of emotional stuff happening in this book. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed following Jamie trying to solve and figure out what is going on and can they catch the people that are actually responsible. There is something that I was like, I want to feel for this person. I really do, but I just don't trust them. And I don't want to say who that is because that will give it away. But I really suspected them, and it was like, oh. And if I was right, that sucks for Dustin. Really sucks. But I was right, so it really did suck for Dustin. But the way the story combined and got together, I felt for Dustin, I felt for Taylor, and everything that's going on there. And I didn't want to put it down. Now, this was my second time reading it, so I kind of had an inkling. Like, I didn't remember it exactly, but I do remember that, yeah, obviously Dustin's not guilty. But I mean, you know that from like the very first time you meet him, that he's being set up. So that's not a spoiler. But yeah, I really enjoyed this story, and it really kept me invested. And it was a nice, easy read. Like, it just flowed nicely. So I gave this book 5 stars. Terri Blackstock, again, not disappointed. I loved it. A Dance in Donegal by Jennifer Deibel. This is a historical romance, and it was recommended to me by book lover Amanda, who absolutely loved it and raved about it last year. And then it was gifted to me by a subscriber, Nicole. Thank you. So I have finally read it. And I liked it, but I did not love it. I liked the setting of Ireland. I liked to get to know the characters. But an incident happens that with the main character that just annoyed me. I couldn't believe she made the decision she did. And just like I couldn't believe that. And she does the next day go back and correct her decision and change it and try to like kind of make sure things are okay and kind of fix it. But the fact that she made the decision the day before just irked me so much, like so much. Now, after that, like she does, as I said, she does go back, rectify it, try to correct things, and I really kind of started to care about her again. However, not as much as I did at the beginning of the book. There are two other characters we meet around this same time, Peg and Colum, who I absolutely adored. Their witness, their support, their strength was amazing. And then an incident happens and with them, and I was just, oh, it hurt my heart. Like I was just grieving for her. Like I just So while I did not love the main character, I did enjoy getting to know the townspeople and kind of following the journey the main character was on. One thing that I struggled with this book is the community members, the school kids, members of the community all speak English, but they also speak Gaelic. And so there's times that the Irish words are used, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means. I was at least a quarter of the way through, maybe halfway through, when I realized at the back there was a glossary of terms, and it was like, well, that would have been helpful. So each time I came across another word that I was like, I'm not sure what that's referring to. I'm losing pieces of paper here. I'm not sure what that's referring to. I would flip back and I was like, okay, that is what I thought, or okay, that makes sense now. But it would have been really helpful to have that at the front of the book for me personally. But yes, so I really debated about between giving this one 3 stars and 4 stars because I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it, and I don't know if I would read it again. However, it would not stop me from picking up any more books by this author because I really did get invested in the story, and I couldn't put it down yesterday. I wanted to know what was going to happen and keep going. And there is a little bit of romance in there, but it's not like in your face. And it was sweet, and I really liked that. I may not have liked the very public display that happens at the end, but I liked the way it was shared. Just maybe a little bit more private. But that's okay. That's me being an introvert, not wanting to be in front of a bunch of people. I'm pretty sure that's where that's coming from. So, as I said, I was debating between a 3 and a 4 for it, because a 3 for me is I enjoyed the story, I didn't love it, I probably wouldn't reread it. A 4 is I enjoyed the story, but it's not a favorite, but I would recommend it, and I would reread it at some point. I don't know if I would reread this one, but I also don't know if I'm really on the 3. The 3 seems kind of low for this. I've really got to start thinking about doing that half-star thing. I think that's where I'm at. I think I really got to start thinking about that. So I did bump it up to a 4-star because, as I said, I was drawn in and I did not want to put the story down. So, yeah. But if you want to visit the Isle of Ireland, this one, perfect descriptions. Perfect descriptions. So yeah, that's my review of this one. Okay, so the book that I just finished today, just a little while ago, was London Tides by Carla Laureano. This is book number 2 of the MacDonald family, and book number 1 is 5 Days in Sky, which I read last year, probably September, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. I will link my review for 5 Days in Sky below. But in book 1, we meet the younger brother, James MacDonald, and kind of follow his story. In that book, we meet his older brother, Ian, who works for him. So this book, London Tides, follows Ian's story. So Ian is the oldest MacDonald brother who is currently working for his brother, Jamie, kind of running the company for him so that Jamie can focus on his chef side. Ian is a trained lawyer, so he does all the business stuff, the background. We get to know very early on that Ian was once engaged to Grace. They were engaged 10 years ago, and one day she just left the ring and walked out. He had no idea what happened, left, and so that broke him. Well, Grace has arrived back in London and wants to kind of reconcile with Ian and try to make up. Kind of explain to him, and she's trying to change her life. So she is a war photographer or a conflict photographer and has been in a lot of the war zones and has lost a lot of people that she's worked with, and she is dealing with post-traumatic stress, but she doesn't really acknowledge that she's dealing with that. But she knows that she made a mistake 10 years ago and wants to rectify that, but the thought of giving up her everyday life currently as a correspondent is struggling for her. And so trying to balance the two things that she really wants. So we follow Grace through this struggle. And we really get to know Ian, and Ian is so supportive and so forgiving and so kind, and just, I loved Ian and his struggles. I have two problems with this book. It is a contemporary romance, and it's a second chance story, which not usually my favorite storyline. But that's okay. I liked both of the characters. My problems with the book were, one, it is very physical on kissing wise between Grace and Ian. Nothing more happens, but there's just a lot of passion shared and expressed and touches, and yeah. And then number two is, this is supposed to be a Christian romance, but there is very little Christian theme and like mention of God and faith until 3/4 of the way through the book, basically. Like kind of the last few chapters is where they start to realize and kind of depend and learn trusting God and kind of what God has had for them, is holding on to them throughout everything that happens. There are some times that happen throughout this book that I was like, that can't happen. These two characters need to be together. Yeah. And I could feel the pain of both characters and kind of the struggle. So I give this book 4 stars because I really did enjoy it. But if there had been more Christian element into it and a little bit less of the physical, I would have given this 5. So yeah, so that is the 4th book that I read this month. And I'm hoping to get another 4 books read for the next half of this month. We'll see how that goes. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. Have a good day. Bye.